My name is Lisa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I go live right here on Facebook every Monday at 2:30 to do an online class. This is the card that we're doing. So this kind of does a zigzag open, and I'm going to show you how we did that and how we added some magnets for the closure. You could also do a ribbon if you wanted, but I thought it'd be fun to play with the magnets. Again, I am an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, so everything I use will be available in my online store and can be purchased through me. I do appreciate your support as a small business. It's up to you guys that's how I keep in business. So if there's ever anything I can do for you or anything that you need to see or know how to do, definitely contact me. I'm always looking for ideas on what I should be doing for my Monday lives. So let's get to work. Okay, this is down on the desk. And I'm starting out with 2 pieces of Seaside spray that are 10 1/4 by 4 inches. And so that is different than our regular card base, but that's okay because we're going to be gluing them together and you'll see what I mean in a minute. And then we're going to score at 5 1/2. So 10 1/4 by 4 scored at 5 1/2. And you want 2. Then you want another piece of cardstock 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then designer series paper 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. This is part of our seashells, but I really liked this in the background. I have a scrap piece. This is what I'm going to punch out my umbrella from. I have a piece for the inside of the card, 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. And then I wanted some layering circles on top. And so I started with the dies, and I really liked this size. But the next circle that fit inside of it, it didn't give very much of the scallop. It was pretty narrow. So I used my 2 1/4 punch. So this was 2 5/8 die and 2 1/4 punch. But again, you can use anything. You can use ovals, you can use squares, you can use, any number of things. So don't let what I'm doing stop you. Just know that once you make this fold, you can do all sorts of fun things with it. I'm going to start out with taking my bases, and then I'm going to look at my short side. And on the short side, I'm going to mark it at 4 inches. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to my trimmer, and I'm going to score from that little mark down to the corner. And so I'm going to take the scoring blade, make sure you don't cut. I have done that many times. But we're going to take that tick mark and then the quarter down here, this little point. We're going to make sure that the point is in the track and that little mark is in the track. And then I'm going to score. And I'm going to do that with both of them. So now I have 2. And I'm going to fold them over in a reverse pattern. And so one's going to fold down. The other one's going to fold up, and I'm making sure I burnish them very well. And then you'll notice, okay, they're all messed up, right? Oh, I did something wrong. No, you didn't do something wrong. We just need to flip one. And so we're going to flip this over and then flip this over, and now they work. So don't panic if you put them together wrong. I mean, I'm glad that it went together wrong for me because I want you guys to know that it's easily flipped. Just fold it the other direction. Then it also gave me a little bit of a gap. So again, that's an issue that I've had people tell me, well, mine didn't meet in the middle. Well, that just means that this, where it's butting up here, is too tight. Like, it needs to go over more in order to make them match up. So all I need to do is trim a little bit off, and that'll make it tighter. So about the distance that it was short there is what we want to trim off. And I'm starting very small because I can always cut more off. It's a little more difficult to glue some in. So then I'm going to try this again, and then you'll see they butt up much better. I'm much happier with that. But because I shortened this one is a little long. Again, not a big deal. We'll just bring this in and we'll trim that off a tad. And now they butt up together, and I'm really happy with how it looks. So don't panic if it doesn't come out perfect the first time. I want you guys to know that it doesn't come out perfect for me either. And I even have a tendency to mess up on camera, but it's all fixable. It's all fixable. Okay, so now what I want to do is glue these two together. So I've got it to where it's going to fold up properly. And then I'm just going to add liquid glue. Again, liquid glue is what I use when I need wiggle room. If you're comfortable with tape, go ahead, use that. Whatever makes you comfortable. But I just want to make sure that I've got time to wiggle this around and make sure that, you know, they're exactly even, both sides. I'm happy with how it butts up in the middle. And then I'm ready for it to dry. And it doesn't take long. Okay, then I have these here. So this is basically going to go right in the middle. But because we split it, we're going to have to split this too. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and glue these two together. And then we're going to cut that diagonal. So again, I'm going to put the points in the trimmer, making sure they're both in there. And then I'm going to put the blade down in the center because I don't want to push into that point and mush it up. I want it to stay nice and sharp. So I start in the middle and then go up and go down. And that way this isn't smashed. And then they're ready to go on here. Now, our normal tendency is to put them in the middle and have the border go all the way around. And you can certainly do that. And I did that on one. I like it as well, because really when we fold it together, I wanted it to match. And it's up to you if you want it to match or not, but I did. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on the back. Again, giving me my wiggle. And then I'm going to set it in here. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm butted up to this edge so that I'm right at the cusp, exactly on the fold. And this paper doesn't have a pattern, but the last one I did was daisies, and it did have a pattern. So gluing it together first was helpful, ensuring that my pattern stayed consistent. So really when it's together, it looks pretty flush. Does that make sense so far? This is like the hardest part of the whole thing. Now it's just cake. We're just decorating now. So if you can get this part, you're golden. Okay, now, like I said, I wanted to make this a magnetic closure. And to do that, I want to be able to put magnets in there. And I want my magnets to be underneath this paper so that they're kind of hidden. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a glue dot. These are little teeny tiny magnets that I get off of Amazon, and I can give you guys a link. I have an affiliate link of where I got them. I want to say they're 1mm by 3mm. They're like teeny, or 1cm by 1mm. I don't know. They're little, and I will have a direct link. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put one glue dot on the back, and then I'm going to set it down where I know it's going to be under there. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. And my last card I just did one side, so you can do just one corner and one corner, or you can do two. It's up to you. But I wanted this one to close nice and pretty, so I'm going to do 4, 2 on each side. And again, I'm making sure that I'm going to be under there, and that I'm leaving enough border that my paper is going to cover it, that they're going to be under this. And magnets go together just one way. They have a tendency to flip and stick down onto itself the way it wants to. And so I go ahead and let it do that. I come in with my second magnet and I go ahead and just let it, because if you do it backwards, see, like that, backwards, it's not going to work. We're going to put a glue dot on the top of each one of these. This is going to make sure that the magnets line up when they're closed. And see, there we go. Now they're placed exactly where they need to be placed on my flaps. So now I can lay this one down in here, adhere this one inside the card. Because of the magnets, I'm going to give this a little bit extra adhesive. I normally would not use that much. And you would definitely want to stamp first before putting it in, because the magnets do make it a little bit uneven right there. So if you were planning on stamping a sentiment or an image on the inside, make sure you do that before you lay this layer down. And see, now it closes. So now we're ready to decorate the outside. And for the outside, I decorated those circles I was talking about and then punched out an umbrella. So this is using the Under My Umbrella bundle. So there's the stamp set and the punch. So I'm going to take my 2 1/4 inch white circle and I'm just going to stamp on this one. And I used the little boots and some flowers. And then I colored. The leaves are Old Olive. And I used Purple Posy, Mango Melody, and I believe that one's Rococo Rose. And then my boots are done in Seaside Spray. And because we're using our Stampin' Blends, we're going to go ahead and use Memento Black ink. So I stamped them just down and a little to the side because I'm keeping in mind the umbrella is going to be up in here. And then these are photopolymer stamps, so they are clear all the way through, which means that I can look down from the top and try to line up. See, there's a little bit of a shadow on the back of the boot, and I'm going to line that up with one of these flowers somehow. Trying to make it so they don't, interfere with one another. And so I'm going to do the bullet tip end, and I'm going to make sure the bottoms are dark along with the top. And then I'm going to do a little bit of shadow. I know where the one boot overlaps the other, there will probably be a shadow there. And then where the flowers are, there'd probably be a shadow here. And just wing it. Just make sure that the darkness is flowing in, or light's flowing in all from the same direction, because shadows all fall the same way. And then I'm laying down right over the top of the other color, giving it lots of attention where the two of them meet. And you want to do this fairly quickly while it's still wet, because the inks are going to blend the best while they're still wet. And if they're not blending, they're not wet enough. Just keep coloring. And this is Mango Melody. This is Rococo Rose. Okay, this is Purple Posy. Now for the leaves, I'm just going to go in with a little bit of the dark. I'm going to try to make it where the line is up the middle, and then finish coloring them in with the light. Then for the umbrella, I wanted to stamp and then punch that out. Now the stamp, or the punch actually, it punches all three of them at once, and so you have to be really careful when you are stamping how they're going to line up, because if you just went and stamped a bunch of things and then you went to try to punch them out, you wouldn't want these extra holes to go in where you don't want them to. So in my stamp set, you guys know that I put the little plastic sheet back in here. These are just stuck to the inside of the case, and then this is a clear envelope on this side where I house all my miscellaneous extra pieces. But then I also keep a piece of this. And what this is, I just went in and punched out, and this is what it looked like. And so then I take my handy dandy Stamparatus and I set this inside. So I lined this up to the corner, and then I laid these in here to where they lined up. Then I'm going to close it and then remove this. So now I know when I ink these and stamp it onto my paper, it's going to line up with my punch. So this piece, I just grabbed a piece of scrap, but it needs to be at least 2.5 by 2.5 to fit the umbrella. I'm making sure my magnets are not in the way. I do have my extra foam mat in here. Because these are photopolymer, they need a little bit of extra. You would take this foam out if your stamps already had the gray foam in them. So the red rubber don't need this part, but this does. I put the silicone sheet in here just to give it a little bit of extra, because I found sometimes it wasn't inking up all the way. Now say I came in and I stamped this and I didn't get the whole thing, right? We do that all the time, don't we? I mean, you can maybe not miss that much, but you would miss some. And so all you would need to do is not move that paper, ink up again, and then go down one more time. And that's the beauty of this, is that you can stamp this multiple times. So say like the checkered, the buffalo check, that's really hard to get inked on just one impression. So I'll put it in here and then I can ink it 3-4 times and make sure that my black is good and dark black. The other thing you can do is, now that I've done this in blue, I could go back here and clean this off and then ink it up with Versamark, and then stamp Versamark ink over this and then do clear embossing powder, and it will look like I embossed in a dark blue. Even though we don't actually have dark blue embossing powder, if I did this, the clear right over it, because this can stamp directly over the top, your clear embossing powder is going to reveal whatever color's underneath. So you can basically heat emboss now in any color that you have. So kind of a neat trick. So see, now because I had that way, now I can line up my umbrella and my little cane, or the umbrella's, what is that, the handle, and they line up exactly, and then they punched out. So I'm going to hang on to this because I'll use this next time. Put that aside. Here's our 2 5/8 circle. Here's our colored circle. I'll put this in my extra parts collection back in the stamp case. And then I used dimensionals. There's some little ones, and here's some bigger ones. We do have these in 2 sizes. And I'll put the big ones on here, but then I'm going to use the little ones on the umbrella because the whole umbrella does not touch our circle. So I'm going to start out with a glue dot. This is why I have all the glues in this nifty little box that I made to put, so that they're all right there and handy. But the different glues do different things, and they're just awesome. So I'm going to use a glue dot on the top of my little handle, and then put that here. Then I'm going to put a few little mini dimensionals down here on the bottom. I don't know if you can see, but it made those touch the white circle, but nothing else. And because I had glue dotted that handle on, it stays kind of popped a little. So now all we have to do is adhere it to the front of our card, which was here. And then you just have to choose which one you want it to adhere to, because we only want to adhere part of it. We don't want the whole thing. If we put adhesive all over this, it'd glue it shut. So we want to pick whether we want the piece to go at the top or the bottom, but whatever one we pick, then we want to come in and just do adhesive under where that circle is going to go. And again, I used more adhesive than normal because it's getting lots of action. When this gets open and closed and open and closed, we don't want that falling off. And so there you have it. There's our under my umbrella diagonal closure. What do you think? You ready to give it a try? Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being here and spending an hour with me just poking around playing with stamps, ink, and paper. Thanks. Bye.